Man, I love this game. Who could that be? It's you! Man! Transformers Dark of the Moon. A pretty decent movie in my opinion. I remember seeing it when it first came out back in... And a whole, I'm not kidding, 15 days before the North American theatrical release of the film, we were given this game here in North America. Well, what about everyone else?
Well, fuck you, commies! What the fuck is a conglomerator?
I have no idea why, but I didn't even know this game existed. Kinda like Wheelman. Yeah, I knew about the first game because, well, it's a film based on what used to be toys and it released back in 2007. It's kind of something you expect to see. And Revenge of the Fallen, I only knew about because, well, I played it at one point. But I had no idea about Dark of the Moon until after making that video on Transformers Devastation. Because a guy got mad at me for enjoying Devastation. Someone asked him what he thought were the best Transformers games, and this guy said the Dark of the Moon game and the Cybertron games. You better not disappoint me. Just like the last two tie-in games, each game comes with a new developer. And for the PS3 and 360 versions of this game, we got High Moon Studios, who you may know from the Cybertron games, Deadpool, or their most popular work, being enslaved to work on Call of Duty till the end of time. This wasn't their first Transformers game, as the year of 2010 we were blessed with Transformers War of Cybertron, which you may be asking why I didn't cover that game first, because that one's better than this one, and I'd rather cover the tie-in games first, at least these three. I'm not consistent. For the Wii, 3DS, and DS versions of the game, you had Behavior Interactive, who these days makes stuff like What the Fog. I'm not buying this. So let's begin with the game, shall we? Well, damn. What I'm about to say has no real impact on how I feel about the game, but it made this game a really funny experience. So Transformers Dark of the Moon, the game, did not release on PC. For my last two episodes, I could have played the PC versions of 07 and Revenge of the Fallen, because at least they got a PC port. To be quite honest, I'm not sure why I didn't, but this game never even got the privilege to get a PC port. I guess they just kind of forgot. So because of that, if I wanted to get my own footage of the game, I had to resort to emulation because I don't feel like trying to figure out how to use a capture card on an Xbox 360. It may not be as hard as I think it is, but I don't care. So I tried two different emulators, one for the PS3 and one for the 360. For some reason, I guess nobody has even gotten this game to work that well on emulators. It's playable through a bunch of fixes. None that fully worked or fixed the problems for me, but it worked. The PS3 emulator worked as well as it could. I was able to play the game enough to a point where even through some frustrations and having to load the game up 5 times an hour, I could reach the credits and have actually viewable footage. The Xbox 360 emulator just couldn't do it. But I had to play a very scuffed version of the game that probably did it a bit of a disservice. And throughout the whole experience, I felt scared to a point where I felt that I needed to try my best to prevent as many particles from appearing on screen so the game didn't die in front of me. Well, the game's not working, so let's talk about something that does work. The Orange Box, legendary package from Gabe Newell that released on the Xbox 360.
Play the game.
What?
Play the game now.
But it doesn't work. At all.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
After playing this game, how do I feel about it? It's good. For a movie tie-in game, I can't be mad at it. It did what it needed to do, and I'd say it has far better gameplay than the first two tie-in games. Going into this game, I was shocked to see the lack of the option to choose between which faction's campaign you want to play as. At first, I thought the option would just be straight up removed like in Devastation. However, no, you can play as Decepticons here. You just don't get the choice, and it kind of does what the Cybertron games do, except you don't have a choice right out the gate. In terms of story, this game is actually a prequel that leads into the story of the film, which is a neat idea. It also makes a bit more sense and feels slightly less thrown together. But where gameplay is concerned, I'd say it's pretty good. Out of these 3 specific tie-in games, this is my favorite gameplay-wise by a landslide, even if it's not perfect. This game is more of an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter kind of game, similar to the Cybertron games that High Moon Studios made before and after this one. Though I say it's not perfect, there is very little that I have to complain about that just doesn't sound like nitpicking. In fact, that's kind of my whole stance on this game entirely. It's good, but there just isn't much to say in my opinion. There's nothing hilariously bad to point and laugh at like I could with the first 2 games.
Was his final transmission.
The level design is linear this time around, instead of hub worlds of the first game, or the small sandboxes with nothing to do with them like Revenge of the Fallen. Though the structure of the levels also takes from the 07 game, where each chapter is relegated to one specific character, which is a bit disappointing to see because the characters that you play as in this game all feel distinct from one another, and I would have loved to play as each character throughout the levels and play whichever one I want. But no, you don't get that option. The game said, fuck you, you can only do that in the multiplayer. Each character comes with 2 abilities in robot form and in their ult form as well, unless I'm counting the lock-on, I don't know. I know they have 1 ability at least. But in robot form, they come with 2 abilities. And surprisingly, my favorite level in this game was not one from one of the main cast, not Ironhide, not B, Optimus doesn't even show up till the final boss, but Mirage. Now, you may be asking, who the hell is Mirage? Well, that's this guy. I didn't even know he was called Mirage. I knew the wiki said that, but I didn't know this was why, because I don't even think they referred to him in the movie as Mirage. The opening of this level isn't amazing. It forces you to drive on the average road in Detroit. Oh yeah, you actually get to go to Detroit too. It's really funny.
Well, Detroit's seen better days.
After the kind of meh opening, you lose your weaponry and can't even transform, and this is where the game introduces his ability, which is a cloak. His other one kind of like increases damage or whatever. It's not as cool. But this level is kind of like a stealth mission for most of it, where you can use Mirage's arm blades that Cyberpunk totally wouldn't steal 9 years later. The stealth in question isn't anything mind-blowing. It's no Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. Happy birthday, by the way. I'm late on that, but happy birthday. But it's fun because of how stupid these enemies are. Seriously, you use the cloak and they forget they even saw you. Like, come on, dog, he's right there, just shoot him. I don't even think moving makes you more visible because it kind of looks that way, but they act like you're completely invisible. This game is ugly. Now, I don't like to shame people for their looks, but this game looks quite ugly. Especially in that level with Soundwave, where the screen looks like someone rubbed Vaseline all over your screen. And the way lighting shifts in this game is extremely jarring. However, some of the levels in this game can look beautiful at times. The jungle specifically is probably my favorite area we go to in the entire game. Especially when you get to Soundwave's chapter. Oh, it's so good. Even if the water barely moves. And like I said, there's Detroit. The Transformers designs this time around, ugh. A lot of them look pretty good here, though I don't know what it is, but they somehow manage to screw up Ironhide's face every single time. How do they keep smudging his face? Why do they keep smudging his face? Then there is Soundwave, who I can't even hate if I tried. He's just a bad bitch and is funnily enough the shortest out of the entire squad. I love him so much. But let's talk about the actual gameplay. As I said, over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, akin to the Cybertron games made by the same studio. Transforming is probably the most fluid it's been out of all the film tie-in games. I think that should have been kind of like an obvious or something you go into this game expecting, as it is a newer game. I think the way you go about it as well is also the most intuitive in my opinion. It was a bit clunky in the first game. You press a button, sometimes it doesn't even respond. In Revenge of the Fallen, I found myself accidentally transforming more often than I intended to when it's relegated to trying to shoot. But here the mechanic is relegated to pressing down the left stick, which at first sounds a bit odd, but after playing for about 15 minutes, it feels very good, as I don't find myself accidentally transforming as often. The enemies in this game, they're fine. They feel a lot less tanky. Weapons and melee attacks seem to erase enemies in near seconds across the board. Variety, well, there isn't much. They all act just about the same. You have a few different ones here and there, like a big guy or a predator dog. Don't take this the wrong way, though. It's not bad because the enemies are fun to fight for the most part, but a lot of them are quite the same. Later on, you will get some new kind of enemies, like sniper ones, but you don't see these guys that often, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. In terms of vehicle mode, it's kind of strange. There's two modes, the regular mode, or whatever the default is that they like to call, which is Stealth Force mode, which is apparently something they were really shilling back in the day. If it sounds stupid, that's because it is. There ain't shit stealthy about this at all. Basically, it's their alt mode, but they have weapons sprouting out of them. Weirdly, this mode I found way easier to handle. Granted, the roads, or lack thereof, just make it difficult to efficiently drive regularly through it. Though it is faster, it's really only necessary in two specifically timed segments. One at the beginning of Mirage's level, and the other at the end of Soundwave's level. In regular car mode, the handling just isn't bad, but it's not great. My only issue is that it's treated as some alternative to Stealth Force mode, so you gotta hold down the left trigger to drive, and you really can't even stop. You are just constantly driving. Thankfully, the game gives you an e-brake, but it doesn't always save you. Man, I sure do love driving my knockoff 2009 Ferrari 458 Italia. What else is there to talk about? I talked about the graphics, the level design, the vehicle handling, the enemy variety. Oh! The boss fights. They're okay. I didn't find many of them memorable, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't say any of them are bad. They're not like the ones in the 07 game or even Revenge of the Fallen. The one with that mixer guy, I already forgot his name. He was okay. I didn't care for the first part, but the second arena, it was fun. Some of the boss fights kind of do this thing where most of the boss fight is spent trying to whittle down the dude's protective shield, only to then evaporate the dude in seconds after the fact. I didn't find any of these boss fights too hard. Funny enough, the few times I did die were just me getting surrounded by regular enemies like a dumbass. I actually did like the Shockwave boss fight. It does kinda go on longer than I would like it to, but at the same time, it's the only time you get to play as Optimus in the entire game. But this boss fight against the Driller Bot and Shockwave is pretty good, though I find the Driller Bot to be the more challenging part, and only a bit because it tries to keep you on your toes since you have to stay on this platform or you freeze to death. The rest of the boss fights I don't really care for. Starscream, he's okay, I didn't find him problematic at all. Warpath is basically a firing range target because this dude does not fight back properly. And Optimus Prime, I mean it's okay. Oh yeah, and Stratosphere, I forgot this guy even existed. This one just felt like it kept going, and it didn't know when to end. And trying to get on top of Stratosphere was, let's just say, not the most doable task at points. The thing I heard about this game way more than the single player was people talking about the multiplayer of this game, which Revenge of the Fallen also had, but I didn't talk about it, and more people didn't really talk about it either compared to this one. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play it, but just by looking at the game right here, it looks pretty fun. Though there is one thing I'd like to complain about before we leave here today.
Yes! Yes! My favorite part! Woo!
The environment is barely destructible. I don't know if this is considered a valid criticism or not, but I really liked it in the 07 game, even though that game, I think, kinda sucks. I'm deeply saddened that no one else cared about this feature. Like, there is some destruction there, but it's so minuscule. It's probably more than what's in Revenge of the Fallen, but still, I'd love to be able to just absolutely destroy the environment. It would have been so fun! But I will end this with one more bit of praise. The music. I didn't talk about the music in the last two games, mostly because I forgot. I just could not recall a single track out of either of those two games, but when I went onto YouTube to listen to them, I did find them to be quite good. It's a shame how unremarkable they felt to me when I played the game. But here, man, when I booted up the game and heard that menu music, oh, it got me pumped. The music in this game is pretty good, though some of it, I'll be honest, wasn't quite as memorable, but a good chunk of the soundtrack stood out and I really liked it. But that main menu theme is where it peaks for me, man. Oh, it's so good. But other than that, the game is pretty good. For a movie tie-in game, it's surprisingly competent. Makes sense when High Moon is the one making the game, but it also has very few flaws to note. Most of them just kind of fall into being either jank or issues caused by very clearly a rushed development cycle, because there's no way the developers got good treatment making this game. But damn, this game was pretty good. Is it up there with what I'd consider to be the best Transformers games? I would have to play Fall of Cybertron again just to refresh my memory, but Devastation's still at the top for me, and I don't think it's quite there, but it's just outside. I haven't properly played War of Cybertron, which is the next time I play a Transformers game, it will be that one, so we shall see if that one deserves its top spot. But I also have to play a game from 2004 as well, but as of now, and considering the only games I have covered at this point, I'd rank Transformers Dark of the Moon right below Devastation, as out of these 4 games, Devastation's still my favorite, but Dark of the Moon most definitely clears the other 2, and it's hardly close in my opinion. And that's all I have to say about this game. I felt like there really wasn't much to make fun of this time around, not only because of it being a surprisingly competent movie tie-in game, there just ain't shit to laugh about these days. But let me know what you thought about the game and your experiences with it. Make sure to like the video if you want to see me continue down this rabbit hole and descend into darkness further, and subscribe because I'd love to have you here. And if you enjoyed the video, good. Now goodbye.